Hey there, what you drinking? 2 shots, let's pour it out. I know what you're thinking, but tomorrow won't come for us. This life that we're living, ain't never gonna give it up. Double shot for the gifted, one more for us. There you go, drink it up. All this love in a cup. Yeah, we go slow, we go fast. Yeah, we can't get enough. We stay all day, all night, living in paradise. Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life. This is the time of your life. Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life. Don't look at the past, no, we're not going that way. Oh, now make it last, make it last to the break of day. No matter what people say, live life in a fast lane. Double shot for the gifted, triple shot for the pain. There you go, drink it up. All this love in a cup. Yeah, we go slow, we go fast. Yeah, we can't get enough. We stay all day, all night, living in paradise. Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life. The time of your life. This is the time of your life. Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life. Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life.
Been going out of my way for us, and I'm not okay. The sun ain't gon' shine all day. Can't wait to see it on your face. Girl, you know, gotta do better than walking out and dodging the surface. Every day I've been out praying my baby not hurt. All of the weather we doing, I promise it's worth it. Open the curtains, baby, I'm certain, I want it all, we come in, it's a coupe, and we gon' bring it right back. Tell him, man, you know I'm shooting, but I ain't never gon' slack. I had to study the map, I had to find where I'm at. The legend, a symbol of that. Symbols, I ain't gonna crash. Catch me in the cut, hun. Something like the duck running. I ain't coming with nothing. I know what they want from it. I can spot the fake loving. Rolling up the gates on it. Ain't no debating on it. It got legs like cake, honey. Usher, I'm skate on the beat. I done seen the play cross the feet. God drive like 6 V's. Flow sick, give me 6 feet. Mountain climbing out to hit a peak. Bunch of snow in my seat, it ain't the same no more. Life is everything but the beach, like a chain. I'm a link with you later for sure. Gotta do better than walking out and dodging the surface. Every day I've been out praying my baby not hurt. All of the weather we doing, I promise it's worth it. Open the curtains, baby, I'm certain. I want it all, we come in, it's a coupe, and we gon' bring it right back. Tell him, man, you know I'm shooting, but I ain't never gon' slack. I had to study the map, I had to find where I'm at. The legend, a symbol of that. Symbols, I ain't gonna crash. For us, and I'm not okay. Can't wait to see it on your face. Girl, you know, gotta do better than walking out and dodging the surface. Every day I've been out praying my baby not hurt, ayy. My baby not hurt, ayy. All of the work that we doing, I promise it's worth it, ayy. Open the curtains, ayy. Baby, I'm certain.
And when you go, I will fall back apart. Find pieces of me all over the yard. In this house of cards, she says, hey man, there were just too many days. When our good intentions only got in the way. And I almost never know what I should say. Maybe nothing nowhere ever was that okay. In this house of cards, with only hearts.
Thank you everyone at Picking Clothing for the season, and I appreciate it. And to everyone out there who just see me no matter what, we send you all respect. So, keep singing. Let's go. Thank you.
With only hearts. You cannot reap what you never did sow. You cannot learn what you never won't know. In this house of cards, with only hearts. In this house of cards, and these lonely hearts.
The fire burned out, the warmth has gone away. The fire burned out, darling, the warmth has gone away. You turned so cold on me, baby, and you'll miss my love someday. Warmth is gone. You turn so cold on me, baby. It's fading slow and deep.
feels so good to be back.
Moving forward, but I'll cry myself to sleep. The fire burned out, it's gone and gone for good. The fire burned out, oh, it's gone and gone for good. One day I'll open my heart again, just like I always knew I should. Oh, you know I'm free now, honey, I'm free from your chain. Oh, free now, honey, I'm free from your chain. And now that we're just memories, all I can do is bless your name.
Say it louder. Feel the moment, feel the power. Bring the animal back to life. Bring the energy one more time. If you feel like letting go, you can take control. You can turn this all to something beautiful, where you feel life gets you down, 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 gets you down, down, down. Say it louder, say it louder. Feel the moment, feel the power. Bring the animal back to life. Bring the energy one more time. Bring the energy one more time. Bring the energy one more time. Say it louder, say it louder. You're the question, you're the answer. Bring the animal back to life. Bring the energy one more time. If you feel like letting go, you can take control. You can turn this all to something beautiful, where you feel life gets you down, 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 gets you down, down, down. Say it louder, say it louder. Feel the moment, feel the power. Bring the animal back to life. Bring the energy one more time. Bring the energy one more time. Bring the energy one more time.
Ice in my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say, oh, oh, la 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 la. And I'm up again. I got tired eyes, need a cup of blend. That's right, in the AM, that's my only friend. No light, just the sun coming up on the horizon. I lose track of time, yeah, I move fast and climb a new class divine, yeah, true passion shines. And I'm through passing time, I choose stacking dimes. You snooze half the time while I move passing by. I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never cap. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say, oh, oh, la 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 la. La 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 la. Oh, oh.
그때는 DNA랑 유럽이랑 우리 막 그때 말록달록 해가지고.
근데 그때 진짜 신기하다. 그때도 여기 근데 그때 LA 아니야?
그때도 다 왔었어.
빌보드가 4개 본
팬티는 켈빈.
오케이.
근데 자켓은 셀린.
샴푸는
내 샴푸는 위치가 되게. 생각보다 긴장 좀 되더라고.
등에 땀 많이 났습니다.
지휘 막 떨고 있더라고.
야, 뜨거운 예뻐요.
나중에 양갈래도 될 것 같아. 한번
이번 공연에서 양갈래 한번 해주라.
1년 됐어. 야, 나 랩했잖아 거기서.
6월 말 되면 1월 초 되면 이제 게임 하면은 경기장에 사람들 모여 있는 그 만들어 놓은
얼굴 안 보이고.
네.
저는 그 우리나라에서 이렇게
맞아.
미뉴잖아요. 근데 그거를 이렇게
크게 떼창해 주실 때
해외 분들이 그거를 떼창
진짜 오랜만이다.
맞아. 그때 나 진짜 마지막 공연이다. 저 진짜 마음속으로 눈물 흘렸거든 진짜. 나 아직도.
우리를 아는지도 몰랐어.
그리고 스자 우리. 나 스자 누나 진짜.
난 차 안에서 호명하는데 그 얘기를 했었어요. SOS 앨범 진짜 좋아하는데
한국에서도 그럴 일은
내 안에서 이게 같이 하고 싶은 아티스트를
진짜
떠나서
진짜 신기했어.
그거 이외에 진짜 너무 리스펙.
멋진 아티스트죠.
최고죠.
맞습니다.
오늘 DM 하려고.
신기했어.
DM 할 거야?
또 저기 그
진짜 노래.
준비했어.
지금 할 거야?
또 저기 그
진짜 노래.
근데 거기가 하늘의 섬이라고 우리
오늘
그런
생각하면서 생각해.
에렌볼
살면서 언제 가보겠어?
그래 맞기 쉽습니까?
난 진짜 궁금한 게 이
한국에
베리기를 적는 사람들은 진짜 결혼하고 싶어서 적는 거.
아니 설마요.
아니지 약간
그냥
우리
유행어 같은
밈이
거죠
된 거지,
유행어
밈이.
같은 거 밈이적인
완전
윤기 메리미가 시작이었지 뭐.
자 이제 얘기했으니까 저희 못 가네요.
자 여러분 여기서
거기를 저희가
혹시
포장 된다.
저희 케이터의 대박이다. 잊을 수가 없어.
혹시 지도 해야 되나?
항시
빨리 양식.
잠을 못 자가지고
그러니까
일어나니까 카톡 와 있더라고.
제가스에서는 내가
포켓몬 가지고.
늘 아무것도 안 해.
우리는 다니면서 할 수 있어가지고.
저도 함께 하고 싶은데
나도
정강이가
나도 정강이 너무 아파.
이게 피로해서 그래 피로.
해피 birthday.
When is your birthday? 이러잖아. 다시 읽는 게 좋을 것 같아. 뭐 저기
어제 그거
그런 사투리가 이런 거는.
아 그리고 제가 인이어 빼고 들어봤거든요. 저희가
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head.
never really know just what you want. With you I don't ever feel calm. I can feel the sweat inside my palms. Play with me like cats and a string. You don't understand the pain it brings. You don't ever wanna give me wings. You don't ever wanna set me free. You know I'm addicted to you, and it's twisted, you've been gifted with the evil voodoo. Got me coming back for more, even when I've been screwed. Dolls full of
또 이렇게 읽어준다 또.
윤기씨 오늘 엉덩이가 섹시했습니다.
야, 정국씨 성진씨 팬티 좀 그만 만지세요라고 써있어 여기.
사람들이 오해합니다.
뭐야?
아니 팬티를 자꾸 여기까지 올려가지고 레슬러를 만들어버리니까 아주 그냥 환장이 죽었어요.
형 근데 형도 똑같이 하나요 정국이한테 계속.
재밌죠?
pierce my heart straight
근데
through.
이제
I got issues in my head. I like you in my bed, but you keep me on red. Oh, everything is like a test. I better not text or I'll come off desperate.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, baby, you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed, thinking something
어디까지 기르려고 하는
out of my nightmares. Singing
저 그 AI
기르려고 하는 거야.
저 그 AI
right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
So if I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't think you understand what you're doing, and my heart's black and blue from the bruise.
에서 또 저희를 맞이해 주시고 계시다고 엄청 감동받고
I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing. Sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded? I'm the one who's always sorry, the conclusion. Even though I offer all of the solutions. I wish you loved me like I love you, it's stupid. When I'm alone with you I never feel loose.
시지 않으셨으면 좋겠어요.
이게 사실 어떻게 보면 되게 기쁜 일인데
저희가 사실 길게 봐야 되잖아요. 모든
진짜 에바야.
부산 요즘
가서
해라.
이 문제는 우리가 해결하고 싶어도 뭐 어떻게 해결할
할
수
수가
없어.
없으니까.
맞아. 부산 출신 막 한마디 해주십시오. 막.
엄마 해라.
아, 물론 그럴 수 있죠. 약간 그
Baby, you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed, thinking something out of my nightmares. See me right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me? 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 Then will you get bored?